Morning, honorable members. It's 8:30. Those of you who are still taking their cups of teas, you can do so just 1 minute and then we'll start. Honorable members who are outside, can you please come in so that we can start? Good morning, honorable members. How are you? We're fine, thank you. We'll now start with our meeting. Firstly, Mr. Klaso, do you have any apologies?
We got one apology from Honorable Kojani. That's the only apology I got. Thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Speaker, one apology for Honorable Wessels, please.
Thank you. Any other apology? I've already pointed another member.
Morning, Speaker. Apology on my part. I'm going to request to leave early. The DP is answering questions today.
Thank you.
Speaker, Chief Whip wethu uyangena manje.
Okay. In the literal sense of isiZulu, uyangena manje, he may just be 5 minutes away, but thank you very much. All apologies have been noted. The agenda has been circulated to members, but also is on our screen. Can I get members to consider the agenda if there are any additions? None. Can I get the mover for the adoption of the agenda? Honorable Member Stole?
I moved it.
Seconded, thank you. We can now proceed. Can we consider the minutes of the 29th of August, which have been circulated? It's just to refresh yourself because you did receive the minutes on time. Thank you very much, honorable members. Are there any corrections on the minutes? None. Can we move to the matters arising? If there are no corrections on the minutes, can I get, sorry, Honorable Mhlangwini?
No. Morning, Speaker. I think
Morning.
it must first be adopted before matters arise.
Yes, I wanted a mover. Are you moving for the adoption? Okay, Honorable Mani moves. Any seconder? Thank you very much. Minutes seconded. Can we now move to the matters arising? Mr. Klassen?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There was an intervention made by the Chief Whip of the opposition about question days and the need to provide context to questions, and that has since been implemented. There was also a request for more information on statutory appointments. The committee section will give that update when it presents its report. Honorable Kojane was concerned about training for their members. We have since reached out to the party and we had a session on Tuesday, but they asked that it be postponed, but we are attending to the matter to provide training to the party. Honorable Speaker, there was a proposal for establishment of an ad hoc committee on pre-1994 legislation. The House Chairperson for committees is looking into the matter and will give a proper response in due course once he has considered all the aspects of the proposal. That is all, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Klaso, are there any other matters arising that members would like to point out? Honorable Mente, Honorable Tlangwini, Honorable Mkhaliphi.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning to the colleagues. No, Speaker, on the matter arising, which Klaso has given a response to, that is due course. Due course is a very dangerous terrain. Can we get a proper timing? Or as this committee, we ought to say in a week's time, can we get a proper response? Meaning which in the next programming committee, let's get a proper response on the consideration of the ad hoc committee, because those laws have got a direct impact on how the courts are operating currently. And then number two is there was a question on the bills that were sent to the president. And we do not have a status of what's happening with those bills. There's quite a number of over 20 sitting with the president, and we do not know what's happening. Some of them are the copyrights, which we've been sitting with even in the last parliament for the past 5 years. It affects people's lives directly. So we need to know how do we move from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe on the question that you have raised regarding the ad hoc committee, I will ask the House Chairperson on committees maybe to respond before I can go to Honorable Tlangwini. Honorable Frolik.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker, and good morning, colleagues. Mr. Kaso is correct that it is being considered and will come back in. I won't use the word due course. I will say imminently, once we've finalized the discussions with the relevant role players. That includes also from the side, Honorable Speaker, the leader of government business, because they will be a key component with us. But we will come back imminently with a response around that's one of the proposals in ad hoc committee that we are looking at. The other one is the functionality and practicality to give due consideration to the urgency of the matter being located in different portfolio committees. So we are weighing up those options and we'll come back imminently, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Can I suggest, honorable members, that we leave the matter on the agenda for reporting in the next, programming committee until such time we are certain on the direction we take. I'm not sure, Honorable Frolik, Honorable Kurenov, whether you can respond on the matter of the bills that are with the President.
Thank you, Speaker, and good morning, honorable members. You will recall that towards the end of the sixth administration, both houses of parliament were extremely busy passing legislation. And a total of in excess of 40 bills were passed by the two houses. Those bills were sent to the president for assent. Secondly, you will recall that since the beginning of the seventh parliament, in every meeting here of the National Assembly Programming Committee, the Bills Office reports on bills assented to and sent to the president. The number of bills on the desk of the president at the end of the sixth administration were in excess of 40 bills. The report this morning, which you will receive, the total number of bills sent to the president for assent and still on his desk is less than 20. So there is movement. The president is bound by the constitution to apply his mind independently and objectively to each bill sent for assent. And his office is advising the president accordingly, independently. So this is a moving target, it's a process, but there is progress and the bills will be dealt with as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Koreno, for that response. I'm sure you will just appraise the president that the programming committee remains concerned, that some of the bills that are on his table, might require some agency. But we are happy that you are taking keen interest on that matter as his counselor here, and you'll be able to appraise us as well. Thank you very much. Honorable Tlangwini.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, on a matter on the quality of responses, and it happened again yesterday. And it might seem like it's something very petty, but I do believe our members take time to produce these questions to ministers. And part of the meeting last week, we have tasked also to take back to the cabinet that the quality of the responses of ministers are quite embarrassing. And it happened again with the Minister of Sports, answering nothing, just hallucinating something, whatever he's hallucinating, what he was doing yesterday. And that is becoming quite embarrassing. And if we want to use our question sessions to be portrayed outside to our constituencies like that, not in the name of the EFF, we take times to prepare these questions, and it ought to be responded in a quality and quantitative manner, not in a way, in a playful manner. We are not here for games. And the minister must understand that. It's becoming embarrassing, to say the least, Speaker, and you ought to protect us as members of Parliament and the work that we are doing as this House. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The issue indeed of question is an important one, and how those are responded to. And I'm happy that the Councillor for the Leader of Government Business is here, will be able to also raise those matters with the Leader of Government Business. Honorable Mkhalibi.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker just wants to get on the matters arising, the status of the Reserve Bank bill that we raised last time. Maybe we can get a status on how it is going to proceed, because we raised it last week and Honorable Mente narrated the fact that it's not moving. It has taken time. So can we get a clear direction now from Parliament? The second issue that I want to raise is the issue of interpretation. It seems as if now we are no longer entertaining it. But the last 2 weeks, the Deputy Speaker said this matter in her office. Can we get that clarity? Because we agreed that we are going to wait for her to update us in this forum, and then we are going to tell our members just to wait for her. But if we are not updated, it means that we are going to go back to demand it when the sitting is taking place. And then, angakaqedi Speaker. Ndiyathanda ukungena emlonyeni, kodwa mekuJenuary uyenza leyo. The transport coordinator that was
What I was doing was coughing, really.
Oh.
I think you just like me to interrupt you. Okay, you can proceed.
Yeah, and maybe we can also be updated in terms of the transport coordinated, because Honorable Mente raised it last week as well, to say, how come that the transport members of Parliament is coordinated by the Department of Public Works? Because it's also give us a problem. If you can be updated on that regard, and I specifically remember you responded as well as a speaker. And then the issue that is, okay, before that issue, what is the status report in terms of the venues that we raised also last time, and the meetings that are not recorded? And it was also raised in the Chief Whip's Forum. Can we get a way forward? Is it that matter, is it sorted or not? So on the matter that was raised by my colleague, Honorable Tlangweni, Speaker, we even wrote a letter to you as EFF that ministers last week, on the member statement, they didn't answer. They were just waffling. They were just coordinating themselves here in the House and said nothing in terms of responding to member statement. As Honorable Tlangweni put it very correctly, that those issues that are raised through the member statements are the issues that are coming from the community. And we can't allow a situation whereby you just tick the box. The minister just stand up, not saying anything. But it was even worse yesterday, Speaker, during the question and answer. There is a minister, 4 questions. We do understand that the first question is sent to a minister, and then it's obvious she can or he can prepare his or her answer, writing down. But how can you read a follow-up question? How does the minister know what will be the follow-up question says on the main question? And then she reads something that is not even relevant to what was raised as the main question. And then on several occasions, she just stood up and said, no, I don't have an answer to that one. I'll comply by writing down because following the rules. And the chair allowed that. So it seems as if, I think, Speaker, this thing we also raised it during the Rules Committee. The quality of responses from ministers. And you, speakers and the chairs, we are very quick to say, the minister have answered. At least one minister from the DA yesterday was defying the chair yesterday, said, no, let me answer questions because I was a member of parliament, I know where you come from. But the chairs, house chairs, are there to say, it's up to them how they answer. It means this exercise is useless, Chair. It was worse, as my colleagues is putting it. It was worse during gating. And the chair who was there was very biased. I don't know if he's here. That chair who was presiding over that house during question and answer was very biased. And he was very quick to take out our members, not even following the rules. But when it comes to gating, when insulting EFF, he didn't even act on gating. We had to stand up in the house to say, can you stop being biased? You are the chair. So if you are going to allow this situation under your guidance, Speaker, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a very serious problem. So you are raising this thing in order for you just to sort out this thing. We can't be undermined by gating each and every time when he comes here and appear here. And the chair who's supposed to protect all of us, very biased. So I think that, Speaker, you must tell us what needs to be done now about that chair of yesterday. Because that thing that he did yesterday to EFF, it was uncalled for. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Let me ask Honorable Manye and then we'll get the responses.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you and good morning to the House. Mine are 2 quick issues. One, I was going to recommend that this committee must follow up with departments that lag too much in terms of regulations when the bills are submitted to the President for assent. For instance, the public procurement bill was assented to on the 23rd of July. And still it's not in force. And the reason it's not in force is because some of the provisions of that act depend on regulations. But now if National Treasury is not driving that process, it means the President will continue saying, I'm still waiting for the regulations. Otherwise, how is this going to be regulated when it's in force? So I think something needs to happen to get the regulations quick enough. There has to be some kind of a standard operating procedure that by the time you submit bills for assent, the regulations should really be ready so that when the President assents, then this thing, there's no excuse not to have that particular act in force. So that's the one thing. The second thing, Chair, in fact, it was raised by the national chair of the EFF in the bus, that there's this misconception that buses leave villages at 8 o'clock, when in fact, 8 o'clock, it's the time they arrive to start the picking up. So by the time they have finished all their rounds in the village, they actually leave something like 25 to or something to 9 and all that. Now, meetings that start at 9 in Parliament, totally impossible to be on time for those meetings if the buses leave at something to 9 from the villages. So I wanted to make a request, Chair, that those buses must leave earlier. The pickup time must be 7:30, so that at least by 8 o'clock they depart at minimum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are issues that I would like to respond to and also ask Mr. Klaso to respond to some and maybe the secretary on some of those. Honorable members, with respect to the interpretation services, I would ask the Deputy Speaker to respond on that matter. On the issue of transport for members, yes, I indicated last time that we require coordination, and I will still say that we will have a meeting this week with Public Works, but also, as I indicated last week, we will plead that chairpersons of portfolio committees do appraise us on time on their programs and at what time their committees intend to start or stop the meeting so that adequate, arrangements are made. At the moment, Parliament does not have that function to procure its own transport services. And I think that will be a matter that will have to be deliberated upon because it requires finances to do so in terms of going out on tender for those buses because even Public Works doesn't own those buses, for instance. And Parliament doesn't have that budget line in its budget. And it's a matter that we'll need to address. I can see Honorable Ghana, your hand.
30-second, Speaker. So when we get the list of meetings for the committees, we see that the committee starts at 9. So that particular program in terms of the meeting starting early should inform the bus operation. Because if this week we've had 2 meetings, and I had asked my colleague to raise the meeting yesterday in the chief whips, that the meetings that are supposed to start at 9 end up starting at 9:30, and the time that is given, because on these days there are sittings, so you end up reducing the amount of questions that you have to ask to the department because you have to rush back to attend the sitting. So I think that the meetings, Honorable Frolic, when the times are agreed to, let it be sent to that coordination of the bus operation, whether it's Public Works, it's internal and so forth, because it just reduces the amount of time that we spend with the departments. Thanks.
Yes, Honorable Member, that's why I said we will have this week a meeting with Public Works to address the issue, whether of starting or even of ending such meetings. On the issue of the quality of questions, it's a matter that we will raise, and we have actually written to the leader of government business on it. So we will engage based on the experiences that we have had thus far on this matter. So it's a matter that will have to continuously engage the executive through the leader of government business about how members address them. But I must say that in terms of our rules, when a question is asked, an answer must be given. But what that answer must say. That is why we have then appealed to the ministers that please ensure that the quality of your responses meet the requirements of the question that has been asked. So as I indicate, it's a matter that we'll raise with the leader of government business. And I would also ask, with respect to the status of venues, maybe before that interpretation, if the Deputy Speaker can respond, and then Mr. Klaas on the issue of the status of venues, if you can also come through.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to refer the honourable member to page 2, the last paragraph in the minutes, where it is indicated that this report will be available in the next 2 weeks and will include the costing of the proposals. So the report will not be brought to the NAPC piecemeal, but will be here at our next NAPC as committed at the meeting last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klasu.
Madam Speaker, I would like to start with the issue of the Reserve Bank bill. The matter is in the committee section report, except to say that the committee was briefed. The committee will have engagements with the PBO and legal services, and they will then develop a program, I think on the 5th, which is today. Yes, today. And then on member statements, as indicated last week, the speaker wrote to the leader of government business, and the speaker also responded, I think the deputy speaker responded to the EFF because they had raised concerns about the matter. About yesterday, we have just received a letter, speaker has just received a letter from the EFF, and speaker will consider the letter from the EFF and give a considered response to that. Madam Speaker, also to indicate that on questions, in addition to Madam Speaker addressing the matter with LOGP, the matter is also before the subcommittee on the review of rules, the quality of replies to questions. And the subcommittee will be seized with that. A draft report is ready. I'm not sure if STB would want to deal with the issue of fairness, and unless he wants me to deal with it.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and good morning to honorable members. At this point, I don't have an assessment report on the conditions. The work is being done by the committee, and I would like to undertake to present that in the next meeting, Madam Speaker. The assessment was around their suitability in terms of conditions. What we last reported was that we have secured those additional 10 venues, and some committees are using them, but there were instances where the air cons were not proper and the carpets. So we undertook to carry out that assessment to ensure that there's a conduciveness status. So I would like to bring it in the next meeting, Madam Speaker, with your permission.
Thank you, STP. I think the other issue that was raised in the programming, but also in the whippery, was with respect to the recordings and the audio of meeting venues. I hope we'll be able to also get that report when you report next week. Also to indicate how many of those do have recordings, and on those that don't have, what are the possibilities for us to be able to have a recording system, and what are the cost implications thereof. On the issue of regulations, Honorable Manye, I would propose that while on one hand, as the speaker will raise the matter with the minister concerned, that portfolio committee on finance who oversee the department must also be able, as part of their oversight work on executive action, to address the matter of regulations, as you have indicated, particularly with respect to the procurement bill. I do think that, yes, there's a follow-up, Honorable Manye.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. It's a follow-up on a different issue, on the questions.
All right.
Just a quick follow-up, Chair. I think this issue is very important, and I think it's so important that it's one of the issues that starts to raise the temperature in the House, when we just feel that a minister is just waffling instead of responding, instead of answering the question. And I think the issue is in the difference of the words, responding versus answering. Ministers just tend to issue all manner of responses. We don't want responses, we want answers. And when the chair, and the reason sometimes there's also an issue, a dynamic between members and the chair, is when we notice that the chair is tolerating responses, we rely on the chair to point out to the minister before even members that, no, minister, the question is, answer the question. The question, we're not dictating what the answer should be, but we don't want a response, we want a semblance of an answer. If the answer is wrong, whatever, there's a process to deal with that. But the minister can't respond and put that response as an answer. So there must be a differentiation on that, and we're relying on the chair to say, Minister, but the question was. So therefore, the chair must be the one that is more vigilant, even more than members, to say, but that was not the question. That was not we are not answering the question. The question is this. So, and when the chair doesn't do that, we begin to lose confidence in the chair. We begin to say the chair is biased. So I think I needed to just raise that point. Thank you.
Yes, and that's why, Honorable Manya, the issue that you are raising on the quality and that other members have raised, despite the communication that has been done with the leader of government business for the executive, it's a matter that is also on the rules, subcommittee on the rules, because the rules as they stand now, it says, question when is asked, the minister will answer the question, but dictating on how it must be answered is not defined. And that's the matter we need to deal with so that there can be clarity on that matter. And I think we're expecting too much from the presiding officer to actually achieve that objective. And that's why, as a rules-based institution, we're saying the subcommittee on the rules, let's look at this matter so that we can be prescriptive if needs be on our rules. Honorable Mentor?
Speaker, you know, it is really unfair, if I may put it that way, that a House Chair or Speaker or Deputy Speaker easily identify a question which is not in line with an initial question. And they are very quick to point it out that, but the question is not the same as the initial question. However, they become deaf when the answer is not in line with the question. And that is our plea here. Let's not be played. The House Chair's Speaker and the Deputy Speaker can hear the answer. That is not an answer. It's now a response which is a mediocre, which does not address the matter at hand. It must be stopped. The similar way you can hear that the follow-up is not in line with what was asked. It must be the same rule that applies to a minister which does not answer. It becomes worse when a minister ventures into insults and undermining the members of the House. A minister is from the executive. Their job is to come here and account. But instead of accounting, they are allowed to undermine us. They are allowed to give us mediocre responses. And we as members must protest. And when we protest, we are sent out of the House. Then which platform must we utilize in order for us to represent the constituencies that we're here for?
This is the
yes.
platform.
Then the second thing, Speaker, is I'm not sure if we are speaking from the same tune in terms of the logistics of members of parliament. Maybe you're going to have to need a different platform to deal with this. Fortunately, the 12th and the 13th is a strategic plan session of parliament, where we must then really answer a question of, in the past 30 years of democracy, we've been doing things and those things don't work for our people. What must change? Now, we can't as parliament plan a schedule of parliament committees and everything, and then to operate and implement that schedule, we depend on someone else. A matter of transporting members of parliament is not logistical matter, it's operational matter. Therefore, we need to have a wheel that is constantly running. We can't, it's not possible to communicate that a committee will sit from 9 to 1 and then certain members of that committees will attend the House, certain members of that committee will go home. We are here at 1 when members of parliament finish committees. Some of them go home and join online. Some have to attend the House. What happens in between? It's not catered for. It's not even responded to as to what must happen. When you call a secretary of parliament, his hands are tied. Now, who must answer? Leave that. When a committee finishes and the bus has to leave, It can't be that one committee is going to hold a bus from leaving because they are not yet done. They can't call Public Works and say, Public Works holds the bus for the further 30 minutes because we're still busy. They leave. So it's an operational matter that it must be within the Parliament, and Parliament must decide on it. It can't be Public Works. It can't be another department that deals with our operational matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. That's why I said we would have to discuss this matter. Understanding that you might have an interim arrangement now, but also whatever model at the end that Parliament chooses, we need to then say, how do we, ensure that it happens? How do we finance it to make sure that it indeed becomes part and parcel of our operations? So I'm saying the matter is understood. Yes, we might have interim measures now, but correctly so. What should be the long-term arrangement in addressing this issue? So it requires a collective discussion, and what then become the consequence of that decision from the financial point of view. So I agree, it's a matter we must address as Parliament. Honorable Dagmo.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I was slightly earlier tempted to raise a point of order, but I think I can raise this and seek clarity from you as the Speaker. My understanding is that this committee is an extension of the House, and that the way that we address matters are subject to those rules. Now, I don't think it's a task of this committee to go into the details of what happened yesterday, the limitations of the hybrid platform and so on. I'm sure we've got rules committees and so on. But the issue that I want to raise is that when members in this House, for instance, refer to a minister by his first name, in the House here, in this meeting, they say Gayton. The question I'm trying to ask is that if this is an extension of the House, should we really be, addressing members by their first names? I'm not a huge person for protocols, but there are rules in regard to how we address people in this meeting. So the order point that I'm actually raising is that if the rules of the House apply to this as a meeting, as an extension of Parliament, is it correct, Chair, that members can refer to others by their first names, and it is an issue that is ignored, or not, or is it's not an issue? Because my order point is that we should not do that, and I'd like to ask you to rule on that matter if we need to be formal. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini.
No, thank you, Speaker. We thought this matter, we raised it on the issue of how we handle each other, especially in the House. And Speaker, this is going to sit with you and your team, because what the member is saying is just talking on the issues that happened on the House yesterday, but is not dealing with this matter in detail, that there was a response of someone who decided to insult and undermine members of Parliament. And we don't have another cheek to give. Because if you're going to behave in a manner that is not exemplary and that has got no respect of other people, you can't expect to get that response back. And to us, to avoid even engaging with the other members and the executive, we want the firmness to come from your office and your team, Speaker, because it's only you who can get us into line. I can't be told by another member of another political party. We are all the same members, even the executive. And once it collapses from your table, then it's going to be a problem. So we're going to really, we are just started this term, and we're going to plead with you to sit with your team to say, once you've taken that seat where you are sitting now, it doesn't matter which political party or part of a coalition you come from. You have to treat us fairly, and you have to stick to the rules. And even the issue of people saying, no, the ministers, they can respond, and there's no determination of how the answer should be. But when someone you can see that has got no interest of respecting even the people that have asked that question, you should be able to rein on them. Because people, if that is the case, all of us, we can pretend as if we're doing the work but we're continuing to insult. So we really plead with your office, not other members. Those, we don't care about them. We're going to do our work, but when it comes to your office, because once it collapses there, that's why you're going to find ourselves taking over from the duties of the speaker or the chair by responding to each other. One of the issues that get raised when it collapses in that table, it's when we don't speak through the chair. When we start directing to each other, then it collapses. So we're really going to plead. Yesterday, the chair was presiding. He failed to protect the members. He was biased, even on issues that we're saying, you are human, you might have taken a ruling and then you realize that along the way, this was a mistake from your side. You got to have that confidence and be able to say, look, I think this ruling was wrong, member, because as you are sitting there, it doesn't mean you are bigger than all of us. You are presiding over this house with the powers that were given by the same house. So once you find yourself that you've made a mistake, you got to be courageous enough to say, I think that my ruling was incorrect. The members that have removed from this hybrid, the online system, can they be brought back? Because the matter that we're dealing with yesterday, even the minister said, but it's not an issue for me because it's a fact of what the members are stating. So why is it an issue? And then the chairperson should have said, look, now that the member, and I've got better clarity of this, and sometimes even the language, because when we try to explain to him that, no, the word banditi, this is what it means, and even the member himself says, no, I don't have a problem with that because it's a fact. But the speaker, because the chair, because it's my way, even when he can see that everyone is saying, but you can see the facts are in front of you that you've made a mistake, because he has taken that his own way of presiding, it's my way or the highway. He will never even have the decency of saying, look like I've made an error, and which is human. We'll all make errors and say, let me withdraw. That's why when you preside over us and say, what you said is wrong, please withdraw. And then we realize that, no, actually it's out of the rules. We do withdraw. So you can do the same thing. It's just how we should treat each other. Then we're going to have the necessary decorum in the house and be able to deal with this member. Because I can tell you now, if they're going to continue to insult us and undermine us, those things of honorable and mistake, they become absolutely meaningless. So we don't want to do that. And we're relying only on that table so that we don't end up guiding each other on the floor here. Thank you.
Honorable members, thank you very much on the issues that you have raised. I wouldn't want that we proceed with that matter on debate because correctly so, Chief Whip of the EFF, you have written a letter to the speaker on the matter, and I wouldn't want us to continue debating it here so that we give it a considered view and I write formally to you. But what is equally important, and I think it's for all of us as members in the House, it's really to try and respect the decorum of the House and our rules. I know that sometimes when debates are heated, we kind of forget that. But it's important to always remember that no matter how tough sometimes it can be, but let's try and respect the very rules that we have set for ourselves, as well as the decorum of the House that we would want to have. Yesterday, the matters that you raised, maybe even before them, Honorable Reddy raised an issue about speaking through the chair, but just before he raised it, he has done exactly the opposite. And I cautioned him to say, while you are correct, but you have just done the opposite of what you are saying. And he laughed and said, I was doing it for the camera. So I do think at times that, all of us owe it to each other to make sure that the house is run in a manner that we would all like it to be. And I do take the issues that have been raised to heart, also on how ourselves as presiding officers, the views that members are having on how sometimes we manage matters. We would look at that and make sure that we contribute to the better functioning of the house. But I do also want to say equally, as members and our members who may not be here, it's important for you as the leadership, because as the chief whips and leaders of the party, you also play an important role to assist that the house function in a manner that would like. So there are certain issues that we have pointed out, as I've said, that some of those that relate to the executive, we will address them accordingly with the leader of government business. But we must all try and ensure that our people whom we represent here, when they also listen to what we say and how we conduct ourselves, must not feel embarrassed. And I think we must always remember that these constituencies that we represent are also watching and looking at us, because we are, whether we may not see ourselves like that, we are their role models. They look at us, they look up at us as the leaders that they trust, that will represent their concerns and their views in this house. So I take note of these issues. We would look at them, and I'm sure also within our rules committee, we would also have to look at how we strengthen our very rules so that they enable us to achieve the issues that we are concerned about, which might be lacking in terms of how currently our instruments present themselves. If we have passed on this matter of matters arising, I will now ask the reports from the committee section as well as the bills section. Ms. Kanyaza?
Thank you very much, Speaker, and good morning to you and members and colleagues. Speaker, with your permission, I will deal with slides where there are updates. And the first slide that I was going to respond to is slide number 4. However, that matter has been responded to based on this report that relates to the South African Reserve Bank. So I'll move to slide number 10. Slide number 10 deals with the merchant shipping bill.
Dr. Kanyaza, I will just ask you to go back to slide 4, because when Mr. Klaso responded generally, he did refer that you will deal with the matter when it comes on your report.
Sorry. Thank you, Speaker. Before the Standing Committee on Finance, there is SA Reserve Bank bill. Today, the committee will meet with representatives from the Budget Office and Legal Services. And after those engagements, there will be a full program with regards to the processing of this particular bill. Slide number 10. Slide number 10 is a merchant shipping bill before PC on transport. They have changed their dates, Speaker. The meeting that was supposed to be on the 10th of September was held on Monday or Tuesday, the 3rd of September. The committee will advertise that bill from the 17th of September to the 25th of October with the view to receive submissions on the bill and consider the bill further. Slide number 14. It relates to the SABC bill before the PC on communications and digital technologies. I would like to mention there that the committee will have public hearings on the 13th of September on the bill, and they will have departmental responses on those public hearings on the 17th of September, and they will start with the deliberations thereafter. Slide number 19. Slide number 19 refers to the statutory appointment, in particular, the Deputy Public Protector. The committee intends, that is the PC on Justice and Constitutional Development, they intend to advertise that appointment on shortly, and they are planning to shortlist on the 22nd of October and conduct interviews on the 13th of November, and thereafter they will come up with a further program for that matter. Before the same committee, Speaker, with regards to the appointment to the Human Rights Commission, the committee will advertise that appointment, and then on the 22nd of October, they will be doing shortlisting, and they will conduct interviews on the 12th of November, and they will give us the program following that. Slide number 21 relates to another statutory appointment that is before PC on women, children, and persons with disabilities. And they will consider their program on the 10th of September, and we will have a full program reflected in our report following that meeting. On slide number 27, Speaker, the slides actually provides progress made with regards to apartheid legislation. I would like to report in this meeting that we have met with all the content advisors and the secretaries, and now they know what they need to do in order to process this matter in the committees, and they are doing the summaries of these acts with the view to actually interact with the ministries and the departments with regards to that. And we have actually written a letter, and we have packaged that information so that it goes out by Friday. So the information that will be going out on Friday, it will be the standard letter for all committees where the chairpersons are actually interacting with the ministers and the departments. The letter that was written by the speaker and the document itself, so that the whole package, it actually goes out by Friday this week. And Speaker, just on updates now with regards to the request to produce a list of statutory appointments in terms of when an appointment was made and when will the next appointment be done. We are attending to that matter, and a report will be produced, and I commit to presenting that report next week. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Dr. Mbata?
Good morning, Honorable Speaker. Good morning, honorable members. On our report today, we will look at slide number 2, which it hasn't changed, but we just want to indicate that there are still 12 bills that are before NA committees. And we will move to slide number 5. When Dr. Korenhoff was indicating that there are 20 bills that are with the president, so we want to indicate the changes that has happened. 2 bills have been signed, which is the National Youth Development Agency Amendment Bill, the South African National Water Resources Infrastructure SOC Limited Bill. Both acts have been signed, and they will be sent to the Constitutional Court for safekeeping. That's all from our office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is the report from the committee section and the bills section. Can I suggest that House Chair Frolik, maybe with Dr. Kanyaza, on the issue of apartheid legislation, if you can meet and align your reports and report us to next week. My suggestion, given
the report you have given us earlier and what Dr. Kanyaza is saying, I would suggest that maybe you meet and then advise us in the programming committee next week.
I will do so, Honorable Speaker. There's a few issues that I want to discuss with Mr. Kaso also about the reports.
Thank you. Honorable Manya?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I don't know if maybe I'm going to ask what everybody else knows. Maybe I must take advantage of the fact that I've just arrived here. I wanted to just check, Chair, the issue on the apartheid laws.
Okay, you have arrived on the new post.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the issue on the apartheid laws, Chair, I'm not so sure as to what exactly is the complication. Is the understanding that these laws of apartheid are actually on standby to fill in gaps in this democracy? Is this the thinking? Because, I mean, I don't understand why this doesn't take half an hour to just declare them all unconscious, just get rid of them. I mean, why is this big bureaucracy on apartheid laws? What am I missing here? Are we saying they are on standby just in case in this past 30 years we have not developed enough legislation to run South Africa? What are we actually saying? What is the message here? I'm not so sure what is the message here, Chair, because I don't understand why it's such a big bureaucratic thing, which I thought it was a no-brainer, just to simply say everything that was done under apartheid with a stroke of a pen is null and void, and we move on. What is this complication, Chair? Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, we will get the report next week, but we did indicate last time that some of the legislation, and as you correctly said, you'd find that in some of these pieces of legislation, it might only be one clause that is still remaining, that is active. Because indeed there is no other regulation at present to cover what that element of the law did provide for. So that is why we had asked Honorable Frolick and the committee section to really go through each on those legislation together with the respective committees so that we can understand what is the status, why did we have till today, 30 years on, still remaining with this piece of legislation, and how do we then deal with it going forward? So that's the report we are wanting to hear so that collectively we can be at one about why are we still remaining with some of those legislations of pre-94. Thank you very much. Honorable Zungula, you're looking at me without raising a hand. Should I assume you want to? Okay.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to raise a concern, Speaker, regarding the functionality of the committees. Towards the end of the sixth Parliament, some of the study tours that were undertaken by committees, the House chairpersons approved that a certain number of members can go to those study tours. Now, recently in this now new Parliament, there's this incident that is happening again, whereby for some of the invites that are sent to the committees to attend, for example, the Network Summit, again, a selected number of members from the committees are now approved to attend. It is, for me, troublesome, Speaker, because what it effectively means, the parties starting from the IFP up until the part with one seat, they are deprived of their constitutional or parliamentary obligations when it comes to fulfilling their parliament work. So perhaps the decision that needs to be taken is that if there's a committee program, if it's outside of parliament, it's either the committee does not go at all or all members of the committee go. Unlike it's this case that we are seeing now, whereby, for example, the employment and labor is supposed to go to NETLEC tomorrow, but only 5 committee members are approved to go by the House chairperson. So that is the concern I wanted to raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkalipi, and then Honorable Dlamini.
Thanks, Speaker. Ngicela ukubuza nje ku item number 9 on the bills before Parliament, marriage bill. Sishadile nje kune-act bakwethu, what is happening?
Kalipi, there might be a need for amendment on that marriage bill, even though some of us may be married, there are still others who are not married. You know? Honorable Dlamini.
No, thanks, Speaker. You know, the issues that we deal with and the resolutions that get taken by Parliament, including passing laws, it's very important. We are living in a country now where everything is broken and everyone is just disregarding everything. And that we can't blame the people of South Africa. Some of the things they learn from us, where we pass resolutions, even on important issues, and then there's no action of those issues. There's nothing. We just pass for the sake of passing them. We pass the resolutions, and I need the guidance on in terms of what committee or which committee must follow up on this matter. We passed the resolution, a motion in the last Parliament on the removal of the Israel embassy, and nothing has happened. We passed that, and it's a matter not just of in the interest of South Africa, but the whole globe in terms of what is happening, what is taking place in Palestine with the Israel invasion of the Palestinian land. And now we pass a motion on an important issue in this Parliament, and nothing has taken place. The executive, that embassy is still there, nothing has moved. And we just seem to be doing things, and then when we see ordinary members of society disregarding the laws of this country, doing as they do, getting involved into criminality and saying, yeah, we know that it's crime to kill, it's crime to rape, it's crime to do all these things. But they can see from the lawmakers that no, these things, by the way, they don't mean anything, they're not binding. They go and pass resolutions themselves, and then they just leave those things, and then it's another day. We want this motion to be revised, Speaker, and want to be given a committee and timelines. We've written to you on why such an important matter has not been followed up, and why has not been actioned by the executive. What is the purpose of having this Parliament that sits and take decisions, and then this one arm of the state, the executive, can just disregard, and then life must just go on? Because as I'm saying, that everything that we do, people on the ground, they look at our own behavior to say, are we accountable? Do we follow up on our own commitments and decisions that we've taken? That matter is a serious matter. We need it revived. We need a committee that is going to sit to it. We need a response on the program of action. What has happened on that serious issue, that it did not just have only South Africa's interest, but the whole world had interest on that matter, on how does South Africa going to respond and execute on this matter of the genocide that is taking place in Palestine. And it's not just a small matter that can be left like that. So we need that, Speaker, that we need to know which committee that is going to sit on this matter and attend to it. We need a clear program of action, and when is it going to be executed? Because if then on serious matters like that, we can just ignore them and just sweep them under the carpet, then what we're doing here, we're just wasting time. And we've got no time to waste. We want decisions to be taken, and once they are taken, they must be executed, they must be implemented, and there must be outcomes, therefore. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mentor.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. I want to concur with the President Zungula that it's wrong for Parliament to dictate on a committee and reduce the membership of the committee when they have to execute any task on the ground. Because we represent different constituencies, and it's very difficult now that you must rely on someone else to get a report of what transpired on the ground. So please look into that. It affects all parties, and make reference to the decision we took when we were going out for consultations on the Section 25, where we said all parties should be able to attend, because it's important what we do here in Parliament and members to be able to report back to their constituencies on their work. Number two, picking up from what the SG said, is the committee and the commitment we made to the people of KZN, Eastern Cape, Northwest and Free State on floods. When we submitted a report on the ad hoc committee on floods, it had a rider that would wish the next parliament to pick it up and revive it, because that work was not completed. Much of the KZN is still in the dire situation. Eastern Cape was not touched at all. People of Port St. John's, they are still waiting on Parliament to come and assist them. They are still victims of floods. The matter has worsened with the past rains and the winds now that are ravaging the Eastern Cape. So would like your office to also look into the revival of the floods committee and finish the work, and hoping that now Treasury would have availed the entire billion which was promised to the people of KZN and assist the people of KZN to rebuild their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Indeed, there are matters which will require follow-up and will come back and report on how those are going to be dealt with going forward. The issue raised by Honorable Zungula on representation of committees on when invited, to participate on some of the constituent meetings like NEDLEC or any other, I think it's a matter that we'll have to discuss with the chairperson, House chairperson on committees, as well as the respective chairs of all the committees, because in certain instances, those invitations would either be guided by whether there's a number that has been requested specifically, or whether it's open that the entire committee can go, whether the committee does have a budget, but also when the matter in the committee is discussed, what becomes the resolution of that committee on the representation. I think that's the matter we'll come back to and discuss with members. One of the issues we have discussed and we will hopefully also flag on in the strategy session, it's how do we budget for our committee work in a transparent way so that committees from the beginning of the year, they know this is the budget of their committee so that they can plan around it, including, oversight work that they would have to undertake inside the country, outside the country, so that committees don't plan in a vacuum and only when they are supposed to execute their plan, they are informed that there are no resources. That will require a bit of a changing in the way in which we do the budgeting ourselves as a parliament, particularly for committee work, so that that is available for all the committee work. Honorable Frolik, you wanted to add something?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think we must return back to what the business of the programming committee is. We don't discuss applications here. What happens is that the chairperson of the committee interacts. On behalf of the committee, I have one-on-one meetings with him, and the chairperson then agrees on the approach that needs to be taken. We are currently mixing issues of study tours, invitations to committees, oversight visits, and I think we just need to return to what the essence of this programming committee is, and other issues that can be dealt with by the chairperson who represents all the members of that committee should be dealt with in an appropriate manner. It's difficult to respond if each and everything comes up in terms of a specific application that is there. But I must add, Honorable Speaker, the resources of Parliament is not unlimited. There are certain committees who receive invitations and it's simply blank, all members must come. Now, whoever issues that invitation doesn't pay for it. It's Parliament that must pay for it, and it comes from the committee budget. And we are having a meeting next week, Honorable Speaker, with the chairpersons of committees where the budgets are being loaded, because the resources are not endless. And our priority is legislation and then oversight. Invitations is not one of the priorities that we're dealing with. And we look at invitations on how it impacts on the work of the committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
No, thank you, Honorable Frolik. I thought it's important that even if maybe for now, given that we are starting, we raise a number of matters, that we allow them because they are worrying members wherever they are. And when such matters are raised, I think it's for us as the leadership of Parliament to see how those matters are addressed. And I thought the issue raised dealt broadly with issues of representation. It might be the example use of a attendance of net leg pay invitation, but it's a broader representation. And that's why it's important to have that discussion so that in the portfolio committees, this matter is also discussed on how certain matters are handled going forward with respect to representation to ensure that all members of the committee do have an opportunity to actually participate in the work of the committees. On the issues of motion on Israel Embassy as well as on the flood issue on the respective areas and how the sixth administration concluded on that matter and forwarded on, can I request that we come back on those matters in the next programming meeting? Honorable Majosi, did I see your hand or are you covered? Oh, okay. Thank you very much. There being no other issues, can we go to the consideration of the parliamentary program, which has been circulated to members? Programming committee,
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think all the members have got the program in hard copy in front of them. And just to say that we all know that in regard to today's program, we'll be dealing with questions to the Deputy President from 2:00. And then on Friday, we have these 4 mini plenary sessions. I think we're all aware of what the topics for discussion are and the timeframes allocated. And we have also been informed, Speaker, that these 4 mini plenaries will all be virtual, not hybrid. They'll be virtual, 2 happening on one platform and 2 happening on the other. And then just to say, you will see in red on the next week, Tuesday the 10th, the only real change there besides the member statements and obviously the responses to that by ministers is the fact that the Committee on Women, Youth and Persons and Disabilities is bringing 2 reports in regard to allowances and benefits for the Commission for Gender Equality, and also the issue in regard to, I think there might be a mistake here in regard to the issue of the youth, the national NYDA, because there are 2 issues basically which go to the allowances. And all that is going to happen there is that those reports will come in to the session, and there will be an opportunity for declarations. And the suggestion there is that there's those that want to make declarations can make declarations on both of these matters for consideration. And then item 3 is an important issue because the mini plenaries that happen tomorrow, then on Tuesday next week, there would actually be an opportunity for the House to discuss decisions on questions that were actually debated at those mini plenaries, and those will be scheduled. And then again, we would deal with the motions with and without notice. The Wednesday, the 11th, I think just what's worth noting, and I think some of the issues that came up in this meeting was referred to, there will be a meeting of the chairpersons of committees, and then we'll have the plenary where the governance cluster will deal with those questions for for oral reply. I think all the issues that members have raised here about quality of responses, you've indicated, Speaker, your communication with the leader of government business. And, you know, that will happen on Wednesday, the 11th. And then, as has been referred to in this meeting, Thursday and Friday would be the strategic planning workshop. I'm not sure, Speaker, if your office or the Secretary's office could indicate to us when there would be a draft agenda for that workshop. I think it would be useful for us to and parties to have that. And then we literally go into the last week of this term, and you would see there that on Tuesday, again, we'll be having member statements and obviously responses. That's on Tuesday the 17th now. Member statements and responses by ministers. If we doubt that there will be any legislation, there might be some committee reports. And then on Wednesday, we again, besides the Chief Whip's Forum, we'll have Cluster 4 Economics, our ministers being from that cluster being available to answer questions and the follow-ups. And then on Thursday, and can I just say, Speaker, I would assume that the Thursday of this coming week, we wouldn't have a programming committee, but I'm sure you would indicate so because of the fact that we have the strategic session. So the next programming committee, as we see it from the program, would actually be Thursday, the 19th. And then there's in the plenary on Thursday, there are two issues. One is the debate on the urgent matter of national public importance, Mr. Milam, which Speaker has assented to, and we had issues about programming because of the fact that the minister concerned here was and still is in China, and we tried to squeeze it for the 10th, but there wasn't certainty as to whether he'd be back. So anyway, through you, also appreciate the fact that Mr. Milam and his party have agreed, you know, to have this on the 19th. You know, even though it's obviously is a matter of urgent public importance. So that'll be 112 minutes, and then we'll have the debate on Heritage Day, 106 minutes, and literally that would bring us to the last day of the second term here, which will be Friday the 20th. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. That's the proposed program from Honorable Mhlangwini, Mkhaliphi, Dena, and Ngobeni.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Excuse me. Speaker, what I've noted in the program, and I see we haven't made provision in terms of even Women's Month have passed, Youth Month have passed, and we are now in Heritage Month. We don't make any provision for what we used to have, the Youth Parliament, Women's Parliament, and we are now going into Heritage Month. When are we going to make provisions for these parliaments to sit? I mean, there are broader issues that need also that platforms to sit, and I don't see on the programming that we are making provisions for those parliaments. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkhaliphi.
Yes, thanks, Madam Speaker. Also, where is the caucus of women in Parliament? It's not reflecting on the program. Why are we having difficulties to nominate a person who's going to be the chair? Is the GNU fighting over themselves? Singachaphazeleki. The issues of women must not be used as a weapon against the issues that are affecting women in this Parliament. Can we be assisted why this caucus is not taking place anymore? As Honorable Mhlangwini is saying that even the Women's Month, we didn't have a Women's Parliament. And then even here, whereby all women are represented here, there's no appetite to put the caucus on the program because there's an infighting between the GNU on the issue who must preside over this. Speaker, please preside over this Parliament. Women issues, please, must be taken care of. I can see here, programming whip, we spoke about this thing on the Chiefs Forum yesterday, member statements and the notices and motions. And I even said yesterday, Ubaba uXhaso udla amazambane towards this issue. And there was a strong view between all political parties that motions and notices must happen every Tuesdays. Can we also be assisted why is only reflecting on the 10th of September, the member statements and notices? But going forward, I understand that the other week is packed, but if you go forward again, there's no notices. Yeah, we talk as political parties, when it comes here, you come with a different proposal without even explaining how did you come with this program after we have talked on the Chief Whip's Forum. Those are the two issues. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Denny.
Thank you, Speaker. Now, I'd just like to inquire as to when we can expect to receive a program for the strategic planning workshop. And if we could receive that as soon as possible to do our planning accordingly, we would appreciate that very much. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ngobeni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to ask on the mini plenaries that are supposed to take place tomorrow. On, I think there's a discussion on the draft resolution by Honorable Julius Malema. I believe that was debated on Tuesday. Is that going to be on the floor once more? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Kona.
Just a short one, mini plenaries again. So originally, they were scheduled for 4 hours to start at 9, finishing at 1, because each debate is 114 minutes. But then it seems now to be programmed for 3 hours, starting at 10, finishing around 1 o'clock. Either the time for the debate is reduced or the actual time is extended to 2 o'clock, just to confirm the timings for the mini plenary tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure between Klaso and Programming Whip who would come first. Yes.
Thank you very much. I just want to respond to 1 or 2 issues. I think that in regard to the Honorable Malema's draft resolution, that is not in conflict with the rule of anticipation. Yes, we had the minister doing a ministerial statement on the issue of extortion, but if you read this particular resolution, it talks about a parliamentary investigation. So it's not in conflict with the rule of anticipation, and it's on the agenda. So it's an opportunity. The EFF in this, Honorable Malema in this motion is actually talking about the need for parliamentary investigation. So it's just, yeah. So I just wanted to respond to that. I think there will be a response on the issue of the strategic planning agenda. That's also what I've raised. I think that, you know, the Chief Whip's Forum will give us an opportunity again to look at this issue of the regularity of, sorry, I must learn to speak to the speaker, not to the member here. The regularity of.
You can look at them, but speak through me.
No, the issue of the regularity of motions with and without notice. I think the challenge through the speaker is that, you know, we have these motions without notice, which are congratulatory and condolences. And if we're having them every single week, and we all know that there's this custom that Parliament then writes to those who need to be congratulated or to whom condolences need to be sent. So in regard to those motions happening every second week, I think it's important that Parliament is able to take those notions on board and then to inform those in our country who are being congratulated, etc. So that's the issue. But I think we need to discuss it again at the Chief Whip's forum. And then clearly in regard to the issue of statements, those are going to happen every Tuesday, and members here have raised the issues of the quality of responses, but I think that, you know, making sure that those happen every Tuesday will ensure that we are able to play our role as oversight, because not only do we as members have an opportunity on Tuesday, but in all the cluster, when ministers are answering questions on clusters which happen throughout the week, you know, there are all those opportunities, and besides the fact that ministers are also involved in NCOP cluster questions, etc. So, but I don't think there's any issue with us engaging on that more at the next Chiefs Forum on the issue of the regularity of motions with and without notice. Those are the issues that I had wanted to respond to, Speaker.
Mr. Klasso?
Madam Speaker, on mini plenaries, we have 2 mini plenaries. Each will debate 2 topics. That should take us to about 3 hours because it's 114 each of those debates. So it's 3.8, whatever. So it's just beyond 1 o'clock. But sometimes parties don't participate, and then it could be 3 hours. So that's why we said 10 to 1. So it's 2 debates in 1 mini plenary. Okay, there are 2 mini plenaries, each will have 2 debates. Yeah, that's the point.
I think the concern was the time, whether we shouldn't start at 9 instead of 10. I think that was the question, to allow for adequate debate on the 2 motions in the House, maybe to ensure that we finish at 1 instead of after 1. I just read his mind that and they want to make sure that they start at 9 and they leave at 1 for lunch and go. The issue raised by Danny with regards to strategic plan program, that will be received by tomorrow to all parties. With respect to the Women's Caucus, it seems Honorable Mkalipi knows things that we don't know. I don't know what could be the problem in terms of why no nomination of the chairperson. But we will have to look in our program and provide for that, because there was a decision that once a month, there must be a women's multi-party caucus. So we'll have to ensure that that is put on the programming. On the issues of the Women's Parliament and the Youth Parliament, I'm not sure that Honorable Frolick, you'd like to respond on that, or you would like to come back next week?
No, Honorable Speaker, let me respond now and say that the multi-party women's caucus, as well as other structures, play a very important role in planning, amongst other, the Women's Parliament specifically. The multi-party women's caucus is not in place. Also, it is not only a program of the National Assembly. When it comes to Women's Month, we work with the NCOP as well. The responsibility was recently designated to my office to deal with the sectoral parliaments. And in discussions with the NCOP, it was clear that in the absence of the required structures, as well as the planning involved in putting together a program for a sectoral parliament, it was not possible to do so. The National Assembly proceeded just to have a debate on Women's Month. But we undertake, Honorable Speaker, that, and it's part of our strategic planning session that we will be having, is the approach to sectoral parliaments, and also working out in advance an annual program for sectoral parliaments and exactly what it will entail and who it will be involved, and it must be costed properly, so that we don't continuously return and ask what is going to happen to the youth parliament, what is happening to the women's parliament. So that is the undertaking that I can give, Honorable Speaker, is that I'm working with the deputy chairperson in the NCOP so that we can come with a concrete proposal that will become part of our strategic plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Manye and Honorable Mhlangwini.
Yeah, Chair, I'm just a bit confused on the motions responses. My understanding last time was that Mr. Klasso was saying something which I thought made sense. He said something, unless I maybe even misunderstood that. I understood him to be saying issues of motions without notice can continue the way they've been continuing, so to speak. But then the issue that I think wanted to change the regularity of, because of the practicality, are notices of motion. Because you are saying to be having notices of motion for Parliament to debate this, that, and the other every week. It's just a bit not practical, so that if that could be spaced out, as it were. But Honorable Dagi says something that I'm not sure if it's still in line with that. So maybe if we can just get clarity as to what exactly are we saying.
Thank you very much. I thought Honorable Dagmo was saying in the Chief Whips Forum next week, maybe discuss this matter as Chief Whips and be at one about how we move forward with it. Well, I'll ask Mr. Klaso to respond to, but it still doesn't harm if the whippery would like to canvass the matter again. Honorable Tlangwini?
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I just want to maybe perhaps attend to Action SA. If they feel extortion is beneath them and they can't debate it again on Friday, they can gladly donate the minutes to us. We'll gladly receive it and continue. So if they feel it's a waste of their time, they can give that minutes to us. We
No.
will attend to it. But Speaker, on another matter, I just
Honorable
want to-
Tlangwini, let
so-
me
so-
just clarify on that one. I don't think that was the issue. The issue was in the view of the member who raised the question, and wasn't raising a question because they thought it's not important, but was just asking that there seems to be similarities, and Honorable Dagmo correctly clarified the difference between the two. So they will participate in the debate, no sponsoring.
Okay, Speaker, Kutan we are Batando protected because
No, no, no.
they came for us and I'm attending to it.
No, no, you were all saying you need to speak
But
through the
never-
speaker. So don't attend to each other without going through the speaker.
But nevertheless, a person mustn't touch our president, then we
No,
touch.
no, no.
Okay, but
Honorable
nevertheless,
member,
the
no.
last point, Speaker.
Give me your last point,
The
yes.
last point is please make a commitment when we are coming back after this recess, that the dome will be here, the dome will be ready. This will also cancel out such confusions like this on this thing of ritual. Please give that commitment that we will have that. Thank you.
I think that issue was dealt with. It was. And I know that yesterday you said you would want to have Public Works to come and present to the whippery on where they are with that process. Honorable Kalipi, the Marriage Act is still going to be discussed. Honorable Ntuli?
Yeah, the Marriage Act is intending to amend some of the commitments we have already made, Honorable Kalib. No, on a serious note, Speaker, good morning to you and fellow colleagues. On the matter that Honorable Manyo was raising, in which you were, I think he was making a follow-up to what Kalib had also spoken about. I agree with your suggestion that maybe let's relook at the matter in our next meeting on Wednesday. And I will tell you why I think it would not be a disadvantage to do so. The next 2 Thursdays, if you look at the program, the way it has been structured, in any case, it would not be possible to accommodate that intervention in terms of how I look at the way the program has been structured. Next week, Thursday, we're in a strategic plan, am I right? So it means what has been proposed could probably not have been effectively accommodated, I would suspect. So my proposal is that because we have the next meeting next week and the Thursday in which we are in the, or some of us are in a strategic plan, let's discuss that issue on Wednesday, find each other so that it can find expression properly in the programming committee, the following meeting. That's what I want to propose.
Thank you. Mr. Klaso, I've noted you, Honorable Mkalip. You want before? Okay.
Yeah, Speaker, I just want to make a follow-up of what the chief whip of the NC is saying. Is hiding behind the program. At some point, you must not manage each other. If you look on Tuesday, when the Minister of Police was making a statement, we finished around 3:15. And there is no justification why we didn't have member statement and notice of motions and motion without notice. So sometimes we must speak truth to power if we want to make this parliament work. We can't just jump and then hide behind the program of next week while there was no appetite to say that since is the only minister who's going to make a statement and the House is going to finish very early, let us have member statement and notices. I just want to make those observations.
Honorable members, I wouldn't want us to debate this matter. I think we are agreed that the chief whips forum next week will also relook at this matter. Honorable Ngoveni?
No, thank you, Speaker. No, I just wanted a moment to defend my own honor. The question that I asked was a question of clarity. And I think Honorable Ntlangwini owes me an apology. I did not come for her president. I called him Honorable Julius Malema. I was asking a point of clarity. I also want to say that it is incorrect to say that Action SA does not care about extortion. We have always been saying that the rule of law must be upheld in our country. I think that is an incorrect statement. And I'm requesting the honorable member, my colleague, to please withdraw what she said. Thank you.
Honorable members, we have clarified the matter. And I really would appeal that all of us do not at all times want to defend ourselves and our positions. Yes, it's important. But when a matter is clarified, I think it assists to respond even for those of us who might have felt aggrieved by the response of another member. On that matter, we have actually clarified, and on Wednesday, the Chief Whips Forum will again look at the issue of motions and motions without notice. This, Honorable Mkalipi, I heard, my ears are very sharp. This matter is closed. This brings us to any announcement, if any.
Ma'am, I just want to check, are we starting at 9 tomorrow or at 10? 10 o'clock.
Honorable members, you have been asked a question. Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Speaker, I think it is going to be problematic to change it at short notice because we have set up other meetings up to 10. So I think it will be very difficult, and we've always in the past been able to complete these between 10 and 1 because not all the parties, as has been mentioned, actually take up their time. So I really feel it's going to inconvenience a lot of people tomorrow if it's 9.
Honorable members, Ramtuli.
No, Speaker, I support that we start at 10. We agreed as parties that Friday is a working day. So if we start at 10, even if we finish at 2, it's okay. And we don't have to upset the plans that were done long time ago about the starting time. Let's stick to 10 o'clock.
This brings us to the end of the meeting. Honorable Ntlangwini.
But Speaker, I don't know why Mr. Klaso is taking us back or asking us and confusing the process because we have adopted this program. It's set 10 o'clock, so we are starting at 10. Don't get sidetracked by other
Honorable
people that are lobbying
Ntlangwini.
you, Mr.
Honorable
Klaso.
Ntlangwini.
Stick to the program. Be
Honorable
disciplined.
Ntlangwini, there was a matter raised, and it was correct for Honorable Klaso to raise the question because there was a matter raised by an honorable member, motivated why he raised the issue, and we had, honorable members, not in my meeting. Honorable Kalipi and Honorable Kana, you don't point at each other like that in a formal meeting. So we agree we start at 10 tomorrow until we finish the 2 the 4 mini plenaries that will be taking place. This brings us to the end of the meeting. Thank you.